What we're finding though too, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, is that it's not necessarily IT anymore. And it's creating a group, and that's what we always say is, get HR, get legal, get the business owners of the data. They have to be involved. IT needs to facilitate, but a lot of these regs, I mean, with the CMR reg for sure, it's all, IT's pushed it to HR. It's like, here, you take this.
Yeah, absolutely, Michelle. That's a huge question, because you've got some folks that are still interpreting the data question as living with IT, and they hand it to the IT guys, and that's not it.
Maybe the question, probably a good question, is where, if you're, let's say you're a company and you're starting in essence from scratch, so this is how we do things now. We don't really have any kind of data governance policy to speak of. We're just kind of trying to keep the lights on. Where should the first call be? To the lawyer, to the attorney, or to the to a consultant who can come in and help you say, kind of what are the steps if you were to build a kind of a mature, comprehensive, risk and compliance program? Should you start with your attorney? Should you where do you start?
I think, as Michelle said, you put together a team. It's a joint.
Who's on the team?
Who's on the team? Finance, HR, your legal, either inside or outside. If you don't have inside, then somebody outside who knows the data. CISO. If you have any other compliance pockets within your organization, whoever is involved with compliance, and then marketing. Business owners who own what the company uses with the data, as Michelle said, who own the data, because they're the ones that will drive what happens with the data, and they're the ones that know why the company has a need for the data, because you've got both internal and external facing data, and the external data is probably your company's lifeblood, because that's why you're collecting data in the first place.
That's one of the things we find too. You have to bring the business people to the table, because they just assume that the data is secure. They don't really understand how exposed they really are. And so it's big cultural, you have to bring them to the fold.
And Ann's original point about thinking about where you're going, where the business wants to go, is you need to have the business people at the table to drive that conversation.
I would say you even have to have some senior management, at least occasionally, because it really is like strategic planning. It all depends on where you want to go. And there's a lot that can be cleaned up of where you've been, that maybe you don't need that data anymore. Certainly you don't need it to be as broad spread as it is. But it's all in terms of your ambitions, because you can't, no business can stay static anymore. They're all changing every quarter.
Because my concern is that what companies, and what we sort of see increasingly or worry about, is sort of the checkbox compliance, effect, where instead, you start from the regulations that you're bound by. So let's say it's PCI is a classic example, particularly because it makes some very specific, requirements about specific technologies that you need to deploy. So they start from PCI. Say, well, we need to do vulnerability scanning, and let's hire Qualys, or we need to, have web application firewall, so let's call Citrix or F5, and just put it up there, or we do need to do a web application scan, so we'll get some kind of, out of the box web application scan, we'll run it and check the box. Doesn't really make you secure, may or may not make you compliant, but it isn't really a holistic approach to saying, forget, as you said, what are our crown jewels here? What is the intellectual property of the data that makes our business run, and how do we best secure it? And what can we throw fewer resources at? What is less core for us that maybe we don't need to be setting as high a bar for?